So today we're joined by Stacey and Jyoti. Stacey is our head coach within the Jugi Sidhu online coaching company, and Jyoti is one of our leading coaches within the team. So today, all I want to talk about is essentially how it is working for us, what it's like, what the environment's like, what the team's like, to give you guys a bit of a flavour for what to expect. So I'm going to shut up, I'm going to step back, and I'm going to let you guys do the talking. Or do you want me to prompt you with questions?
I'm not going to say no to prompts.
Okay. I think the first things first is Stacey, you're relatively new to the company, right? So you joined us this year. It's not been all that long, but obviously you've seen a lot of progress within the role and you've seen a lot more opportunities come your way in terms of working with a variety of different clients. How has it been for you coming into this environment, obviously not being fully aware of what we do and how we do it? How has it been for you integrating yourself into this team and obviously growing within the position?
I found it really good in terms of integrating into the business as a whole. I found it was easier than I expected, honestly. There's been a lot of support from everybody, and obviously we do the weekly group calls, so you sort of are always in touch with everyone else who's on the coaching team, which is really good. And you yourself have always in contact with us as coaches, which sort of helps with the integrating, especially when you're new, sort of helps you feel part of the team, I suppose. And I feel like from the get-go, there's always been a clear idea for me of what's expected in the role. So I was never sort of unsure on that front, which was really handy. It's always really handy when you're coming into a new position. So I found that really good. And I think it's been nice too, because often, obviously, online coaching especially can be quite an isolating job, because by the nature of it, you tend to work alone. So having a team to sort of bounce off, and then having obviously the specialists that work with us, the physiotherapists and the psychologists and that sort of thing, has been really nice as well, to sort of have that network that you don't always necessarily have as a coach.
That's an amazing response. I think in terms of Jyoti, you've actually been with us for a lot longer. And when you initially came to us, well, I'll let you tell your journey. What was it like when you were initially, because you reached out to me via email, right?
Yeah.
At that time, you weren't a personal trainer, you weren't a coach, but you were looking to really get into this kind of sphere. So what was it like for you in terms of your development? Because that's been pretty rapid over the last few years.
Yeah, so when I contacted you, I had only just started my personal training qualification. So I was relatively new in the fitness sort of field, in the health and nutrition field. So initially we spoke about I worked as a community manager for the Lean Engine Academy. And for that, it was a good eye-opener to be able just to interact with a number of clients, rather than on a one-to-one basis. And then obviously the role developed into doing the one-to-one coaching. And really it was just being able to learn from other coaches, learn from yourself, how you interact with clients, being able to be interact with lots of different types of clients, and learn about nutrition. So obviously we used to have the in-person seminars where you get to meet people in person and really get to interact with them. That was really good. And then just learning from how you develop the training programs, learning to use new software. So it has been a really big learning curve for me, but it's been really good to be able to be kind of thrown in and have that exposure quickly. It's been able to help me personally with my personal training that I do in person, in the sense that it works hand in hand with when you're training a client in person, you see the movement patterns, you're able to apply it to online coaching, which might be a bit difficult if you just did online, if you'd never had online coaching experience before. I really like the sort of team meetings we have, because I'm able to learn from all the different coaches, learn from different areas of expertise. That's been kind of really beneficial for me. I can see what works, how to approach different clients. And then obviously we have our one-to-one meetings which you can talk about any struggles that you're having with clients and how to make the sort of changes with those. So yeah, it's been a big journey.
Yeah, I think it has been like a really kind of steep learning curve, like joining on that basis of working as a community manager and then slowly but surely like leveling up to be able to work on the one-to-one basis with clients. I would say this, that the reason that's happened is because you came into the business and you applied yourself from day one. You've always showed up to the calls. Like that was a big investment in terms of time and energy. So the more you've committed to this role, the faster you've grown and the more responsibility you've taken on. Because now you're obviously working on our corporate contracts as well as the one-to-one contracts. So I think it's just been incredible to see your growth and development. The other thing I would say is it is really challenging, right? I know that what I asked you to do in terms of communication, the level of communication you have with your clients, the one-to-one interaction, the Zoom calls, the chats on almost a daily basis with some people, I know that that's challenging. So I guess how do you deal with the fact that this is such a challenging environment and a challenging role?
The first thing is, I mean, you're quite upfront with that from the get-go. And I mean, it's a very high-end coaching service. You know, like most of them are high-level executives or high-level performers in whatever field they're in, and they are paying for a high-level service. And part of that is that you are, giving them that extra attention that they might not ordinarily get in another coaching system. And that's sort of made clear from the get-go. And I think there are good systems in place, like we were saying before, where that you always have access to yourself and you always have access to the rest of the team. And I know, like for me personally, even though I'm relatively new to the company, like there's never been a time where I felt as though I couldn't reach out if I was struggling with something. Like I know if I'm struggling with a particular client that I'm perhaps just not sure how to approach, or I'm not clicking with them, particularly well, I feel comfortable reaching out to the group chat and be like, hey guys, this is happening with so-and-so. What's your input, or who's encountered something like this before? So I think that has helped a lot in that situation. And then like any coaching, there's always some clients who are more high maintenance than others. And I think that's just part and parcel of the role, regardless of where you're working.
So, I mean, I guess knowing how to build those relationships and connections with the clients helps with the coaching process, in the sense that if you can really get to know the client well and make it easier for them to be able to communicate with you, makes it less of a struggle. So just being able for them to communicate is probably a bonus point. And then being able to, again, I interact with Stacey now when a new program is being developed, and then we sort of talk amongst ourselves about any changes. And it's good to have someone else that can either, you can confirm, if you've got certain thoughts about a certain training plan or a nutrition, like macros and calories. It's good to have someone to confirm that what you might have, you're struggling with, to say, yeah, that's okay, or no, maybe not. That's been really useful. And then, just having those meetings where we can talk about clients has been probably the kind of makes it easier to coach.
I remember when I first started coaching, and I passed you pass your qualification and you're like, oh, I'm going to go out there and start training everyone. And then realistically, you don't really know what you're doing. Like when you very first start, you're going in blind. Maybe you invest in some coaching for yourself and you apply those sorts of techniques to the people that you're working with. And maybe it works with like 5% of the people or 10% of the people that you're working with at that time. But realistically, it's really challenging. It's really demanding. It's a really lonely place, like you said earlier, Stacey. And online coaching is probably even worse because you've got no point of reference. That was the whole point, from my perspective, of building like a really high quality team of coaches. There's no fear in terms of reaching out. There's no judgment. There's always just support and love and sharing best practice. And I think I like seeing that. I love it, seeing it from, taking a step back and seeing you guys interact and communicate with one another, and seeing like the programming level up as well, seeing the whole team develop over time, and even bringing in people that are experts in their field. Like we've had Luke come in and deliver his kind of seminar with us We're looking to get other educators come on board and support us in terms of development too, especially around applied anatomy, female physiology. So there's always that room for development. And I think this is the beauty of the team, is we all understand that. We all understand that there's always going to be something we can be better at. And I think that's a massive part of why we are so successful as a team. And I think the other side of that is it's allowing us to, I guess, not have the ego in the sense that we can help everybody and, do it all by ourselves. Like literally saying, okay, well, some of the things that you're showing right now are suggesting that you're very, very highly stressed. I can give you certain pointers and practices to work towards, but if it's not working and you've tried these things over time, let me bring in the doctor or psychologist, or let me bring in Dr. Sandhu or Patel to come and support you. And even some of the clients that come to us with crazy movement patterns, we can reach out to Henry and say, look, Henry, do you mind having a look? And then Henry will put his own little rehab program together for him. And I just think the value of the team is just so powerful. And I'm sure you will all agree. In terms of the way that we coach, again, it's fairly unique in the sense that we don't rush into developing programs immediately. And I think that's really, really important. I think it's one of the things that stands us apart from a lot of people, is we take our time to really get to know our clients. How do you guys find that initial kind of phase and building up that information about somebody and really gathering information that's going to be valuable to their programming?
I think in terms of just getting to know their lifestyle, we ask questions about their nutrition, their sleep, their time management, what their routine is like. And I think it's valuable for them as well. It's a bit of like an eye-opener for the clients to kind of see, oh, actually, this is what I do. These are my goals. And I think we find out their goals and we work back from them to really plan out each week leading up to that goal. And again, reaching out to Harbinder and Shilpa or Henry to put all of that in place for when they start is really good.
Yeah, I feel like taking a longer approach with the initial phase where you're sort of doing the information gathering and everything is always beneficial from a programming perspective anyway, because you can get given someone's basic stats and be like, oh yeah, cool, this is the ideal program or the ideal nutritional approach for the goals that they want to achieve. And that's all well and good, but if you then look at their lifestyle and their career and their stress levels and all that sort of thing, and that ideal program is just not going to happen under any circumstances, well, it stops being ideal. Then you've got to find that balance between what's practical and what's textbook ideal for their situation. So I think having that extra time in that initial phase is really beneficial in the long run in actually building a program that is sort of personalised enough for them.
I guess that leads us on to I know that we've got a vast array of clients, right? So we've got some people that are looking to build muscle, they just want to gain mass, they want to build a physique, right? And then there's other people that just want to get healthier, they just want to get leaner, they want to drop some body fat. Then we've got mothers. I know, Jyoti, you're dealing with a lot of our female clients that are mothers, that are obviously adapting to motherhood and also losing body fat and feeling themselves again.
I feel like with the kind of clients that we work with, like you said, there's a big variety in terms of the goals and in terms of the physiques they come to us with and the health problems they come to us with, but at the same time, there's a lot of overarching similarities as well. Like the vast majority of clients that we work with are quite high achievers, both in an objective standpoint when it comes to their careers and things, but also in a mentality standpoint. Like they tend to be perfectionists and they tend to be high achievers mentally. They tend to be very high stress. They tend to have very busy schedules. And so there's a lot of that sort of stuff that you're working around lifestyle wise, as well as just working with, typical health issues and that sort of thing.
How do you find that, Stacey? Because you came into this, and I don't think you had a lot of those types of clients previously, or it was more lifestyle based and more, I guess, like real people with like real problems as opposed to. I know you came from more of like working with a lot of bodybuilders, right? How have you found that transition? How have you found that different?
Honestly, I think I've found it pretty good. It's obviously like chalk and cheese in some ways, obviously, because especially around physique competition times, most good competitors are somewhat like robots. You just tell them this is what you're doing and they do it. If it doesn't really matter what their extenuating circumstances are, because that driver is so strong for them. Whereas there's a lot of other things to take into consideration when it comes to the general population. But at the same time, like, I've found it good because I personally find it a lot more rewarding. Like, it's like, yeah, cool, I got you real fucking shredded. Like, that's nice, but it's nice. Like, it just hits differently when it's someone coming back to you and being like, hey, my blood pressure dropped 20 points, or like, hey, I had energy this week for the first time in like 5 years, and stuff like that, and it's good to be able to, I think, especially in the general population, there's a lot of like fear around health and fitness and hesitation around thinking that they're going to have to overhaul their whole lifestyle, and they've been on Instagram trawling through fitness influencers, and now they've got so much conflicting information that they just want to like curl up in a ball for 3 days. But it's nice to be able to guide people through it and to see them start to learn that they can just make small changes and then they'll still see results. Like, it's very rewarding, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah, I love that word, rewarding. And I think what we do on that weekly basis, where we share client wins, we talk about those kind of mini successes that will lead to that long-term bigger success. I think that's so powerful. And even feeding that back to our clients, I think that's one of the things that really sets us apart, is allowing them to actually see their successes, not as that final result, but the smaller things that we do along the journey. And Jyoti, I know that you bring up some awesome client successes. And I know that you also get a lot of fulfillment work working with your clients, because when I speak to your clients at the back end of it, they always say the same thing. Like, you just love doing what you do, and you've got so much energy and so much drive and this like just bubbly personality when you speak to them. And I think it really does shine through. So I also think that kind of reflects on the fact that you've built so much confidence, Jyoti, like from where you first started to where you are now. And I think we picked up on that recently. The way that you communicate with your clients is at a completely different level. Like, what would you put that down to? Do you think it's more of the education that you've been doing personally, or is it the stuff that we've invested in? Because I know I've obviously paid for some elements of courses for you to go on to help you upskill. Do you think it's maybe a mixture of both, or even some of the stuff that we do as a team?
Yeah, I'd say it's a mixture of both. When I'm talking about training programs, I am much more confident now since doing the Muscle Nerds program design course. So in terms of, talking about sort of the anatomy and physiology side of things to clients, I do feel confident with that. And then I think in terms of like other aspects of coaching, I think being exposed to that range of clients and learning about different personalities then just makes it easier when you get a new person on board and you have to adapt. You can just do it a lot quicker because of exposed to lots of clients. So, you can pick up certain personalities and think, okay, that person, their mindset's a bit different in this particular area. So we maybe not need to overwhelm them with or take things in a bit of a slower approach with coaching. So it's being exposed to lots of clients and lots of personalities kind of has helped with the confidence. Awesome. And I think also by doing Zoom calls, it's helped just get a bit more personal connection.
You guys, what I get from that is you've got such an amazing level of reward and fulfillment from the people that you work with. So how does it feel that you don't have to go and search for these people all the time, that they come to you and I deliver them to you as clients, and then you guys work with them? How does it help you? Does it de-stress you? Does it allow you to just then focus on the things that you really love doing?
Yeah, 100%. It takes away a level of stress because it's one less thing you have to focus on. You're not having to constantly think about what's my next, I don't know, sales funnel. I don't do this shit. You're not having to constantly have that other side of things on your mind. You can just focus purely on the clients and on the programming, which is really, really nice to be able to do.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it just takes the stress away. For me, obviously, when I quit my job, I wanted to go into what I love doing, which was health and fitness. So not having to think about sales, business, things like that, just allows me to focus on what I want to do. So I can kind of focus all my energy into that.
Just lastly, what were the top 3 things that you would tell potential coaches that want to join us? What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, I could definitely think of a couple. I think one of the main ones is like come into this expecting to be a bit of a team player and come into this open to growing and things. I think this is a kind of a leave your ego at the door sort of position. If you're not willing to learn and willing to be humble and willing to take on different approaches, then it's probably not a good environment for you. But if you do want to learn and you do want the opportunity to grow as a coach and you do want to work within a really supportive and good team, then it's definitely a great place to be.
Yeah, I'd say if you like sort of working in a challenging environment, it's also a good kind of thing. And also if you enjoy just being able to change someone's life, their health, I think that's like the rewarding aspect of it. Being able to see a client who kind of just shifts their mindset or just says, wow, this is what I would have done and this is what I do now.
One last one,
I think that
coachable element. And I think that's a word that we talk about from a client perspective, but also within us. Like, if we're not coachable, we're not going to be able to grow. We're not going to be able to develop. We're not going to be able to use the resources that are on hand, really push ourselves. And we won't respect the fact that this is a challenging environment. But if you do become coachable and you do come in with that mindset that we don't know everything and there's a lot to learn, then this is a great place to be, from my opinion anyway. I think that's really, really powerful.
One other thing, just on the last question with, things to be prepared for if you're coming into the role, is that it is, like I said before, like it's a high-end coaching service and you have to be willing to put in the work to deliver a polished product. And that means that you need to be able to manage your time, to be able to stay on top of all the stages of the coaching process, to be able to sort of put things together in a way that presents professionally, and to present yourself professionally as well. So I think that is an important thing too.